What up, everybody? DJ Nubis here with you on the Metal Tavern Radio podcast. Getting ready to do another trailer reaction, this time for a game. Just learned that World of Warcraft is getting ready to release Dragonflight, the expansion, the ninth one in their series. The date hasn't determined yet, but they did release a cinematic teaser trailer, I guess. I'll be showing in a few minutes, but I wanted to kind of give some background on my experience with the game, because this is one of those games where I play this probably more than any other game, at least up until the recent months. And I'll get into all that in a minute. But I started playing World of Warcraft towards the end of 2007, so it was like on the tail end of the Burning Crusade that I got involved, and just kind of fell in love with it right away. Playing it then, and then of course I just kept falling, and then one of the things about me with this game is I'm more of a player versus environment. Like, I've done player versus player, but I'm just not very good at it, and a lot of times I get my ass kicked a lot and shit like that. But it depends. Like, I used to run a Alterac Valley a lot, where you have like 25 fighters versus 25 of the Alliance, and etc. And usually I'm always the one in the back just doing my little cheap shots, because I usually play a blood elf, so I'm just not very good on one-on-one combat with them. So there's some really good players out there, but as far as player versus environment, and plus I play Hunter, which I know a lot of experienced World of Warcraft players kind of frown upon. They don't really like the huntards, as they call it, but for me, that's a really fun character, because you can go and tame like rare beasts and etc. like that. And I don't know, I just always love the elf and everything else about it, but the animals, etc. And really my favorite to this day, I mean, like I said, Dragonflight's going to be like the ninth expansion of the series, and but my favorite has to go back to right after Burning Crusade, when Wrath of the Lich King came out, and that was really kind of my overall favorite so far, just because everything they had about it, with the look, the Lich King, the North End, a lot of Viking stuff, as well as like a lot of rares, like just rare creatures to tame. So I just had a lot more to offer in that respect. I mean, next probably behind that would be Cataclysm, maybe. As far as like tameable creatures, like, so ever since then it's been kind of less and less, and some of the creatures you have to tame takes a lot more work now than it used to. I'm just kind of like, it's just kind of a pain in the ass, and I just don't have enough time for that. But one thing it's funny is I go back and I look at some of the BlizzCon reaction videos to the trailers when they release them upon the expansions, and then I get such a rush listening to people who watch these live when they happen, before we all see them years later or whatever. And it's just an adrenaline rush. People get excited about stuff. So like the reactions to Battle of Azeroth or Shadowlands, just like people go crazy. We're all big fans of this, and especially the Horde. So that's my group, yeah. But I've never been to a BlizzCon, so whether or not that ever happens, I don't know. I mean, I can't say I'm like the biggest diehard World of Warcraft guy, because I don't know much about the lore. I've tried to keep up with some of it and learn a little bit about it, but I couldn't like spell it out to word by word how this is supposed to go out. And I've had a couple of books on it, which ironically, I think, at least the book I had, some of that was kind of used in the movie they made in 2016. So depending on the storylines and everything else, it just depends. But I do find that one of my favorite characters of the entire lore and in World of Warcraft is Sylvanas Windrunner. And going back and watching a video a guy put together about her history as a character in the games, and how she's evolved and changed. And I really like, I know there's some problems with her character in terms of her behavior, because she's very much Jekyll and Hyde. Like, sometimes she can be your best ally, even for the Horde, and sometimes she could be your worst enemy. And Shadowlands kind of opened that up to where we see her kind of losing herself again, and she feels like she's doing the right thing by breaking the glass ceiling. Uh, but at the same time, it's like she's also opened up this whole other can of worms for everybody in the process. So even if you take aside the fact that the game itself is a little bit harder to get into for most people, at least that expansion, like the fact that the lore part of it shows that she's kind of just continuing to push the boundaries, and this kind of, I mean, you always saw it coming. Like I said, she's Jekyll and Hyde, but there's one cinematic piece out there that's on YouTube from a little bit while back where Vol'jin, the troll who was war chief of the Horde, ends up getting mortally wounded in a battle against the Alliance. And he ends up handing the power over to Sylvanas. But the little cinematic piece there is very touching because even for, Vol'jin, who didn't necessarily trust her because of those reasons I explained, but she also saved him and a lot of other ones when they needed it at the very end there of his life. And so he's basically saying, the spirits have granted me clarity, and a name is Herosa. So he hands the war chief banner to her, and then right after that, she's on top of one of the buildings and by the fire pit or whatever, and the Horde is like gathered around underneath her, basically, and she's like, who of those out there are going to help me avenge Vol'jin? And of course, they all get psyched up, and it's like a very powerful moment. So she does have the ability to be a very good leader of the Horde. But when Shadowlands got released, and I was following on message boards and stuff, there were just, the diehard and people who don't really like that her character has such a mainstay in the series, or is becoming like at the forefront of a lot of stuff. So, there are a lot of characters, big time characters in World of Warcraft, but some people are kind of tired of seeing Sylvanas being the forefront of that. Which for me personally, I don't care. I actually like her a lot. So the fact that she has like an integral part of the storylines is fine with me. I love it, actually. It just shows her growth, and I think at some point her character will have this much larger redemption, but I just don't know when it's going to happen. I didn't, like I said, I didn't really care for Shadowlands too much. Just the gameplay, and like I said before, when it came to like the tames and stuff, tames just become a little bit more boring. Very rarely now do you have to go and like wait and hunt for a creature. Oftentimes I just found myself starting new hunter characters and just going back through and basically re-hunting creatures that I had hunted before with other characters, because which was more fun then, knowing that you had to like plop down somewhere and wait maybe a couple hours for that creature to appear so you can tame it. Sometimes late at night, I mean, Neko will tell you there were times I'd set my alarm for like 2 and 3 a.m. just so I can get up, come down to the computer, jump online, and even though my character was already sitting in that space, I had to like log in for it to show up. And I remember specifically Loknathak, and I don't know if I pronounced the cat's name right, but it was the leopard from Shalazar Basin at Northend for Wrath, that expansion. And it took me a long time to get him, because even more so for Skull, the wolf in the same expansion. But waking up, I think it was like very much the morning of Thanksgiving that particular year. I can't remember what year it was, but I logged in probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 in the morning, I think, maybe even 3. And he was there, and I was like, snatched him up. Nowadays, I had moved a lot of my characters to another server, which was less populated, because like I said, I have my own guild that I run. People have kind of come and gone because the problem with my guild is I love my guild. Actually, I've done a lot of work. I put a lot of stuff in the bank tabs, etc. I have some perks that I've unlocked myself. But people probably get disinterested with my guild because I'm not there all the time and I'm not doing dungeon runs and stuff. I mean, if I was really active playing with people that I thought were just going to use their alts, which is one thing that I've encouraged people, like if you're on, you have your own active characters and you have some alts that you just want to like kick into a particular guild just for the hell of it, I'm fine with that. If they're not that as active and you just want to log in every once in a while on those characters and do whatever, I'm fine with that. I've always stated that. As much as I would love to have a guild that does like dungeon runs or raids and stuff like that, it's just I don't have that kind of time. I'm just older. I don't, I have a lot of things going on, just music stuff, the podcast and everything. I just way too much going on that I can't dedicate that much time to the game. Like when I do dedicate time, it's for personal reasons. When I'm just hunting creatures or just feel like fucking around, trying to get some sort of experience or whatever. Right now, I used to spend a lot of time trying to level up all my characters, but since Shadowlands, I've really just focused on 3 of them. I have 2 hunters and a mage that I focus on, and that's about it. But yeah, so Dragonflight, they don't have a release date yet, but what we do know about it is it's dragons. So apparently you can ride them, play as dragons. I guess everything's going to start. In fact, the island that this is going to do is called the Dragon Isles, and so this will actually create another race. And they say that the dragon race isn't like one particular or the other, so I've got to feel it's pretty neutral type of race. And so I don't know if that just means like, let's say you have, I don't know, they call them the Drekthir. And so like I don't know if like let's say you take a Drekthir hunter, does that mean that particular hunter is going to look the same for the Alliance versus the Horde? I don't know. Like I'm not sure how they're going to do the whole neutral thing, because usually, like one thing I did hate, I wish that the gnomes and the shit, what were they called? Y'all know I'm laughing at me because the I love werewolves, right? So we have the wolf creatures that are part of the Alliance, which I had hoped that would be part of the Horde, but because they can shapeshift back into humans, they're Alliance. But those are one of the ones I wish would have been neutral, because as a werewolf, that's pretty much horror, right? Not much in the way of like goodness there in that regard. But the storyline for that is pretty cool anyway. If you ever played that particular character or race in World of Warcraft. Apparently, just like some of the past, when you go to play this dragon character, you'll start at level 58, make your way up to 70. For other people who are already at 60 or whatever, you just go 60 to 70. One of the issues I did have the last 2 expansions was the amount of work that goes into getting things accomplished or whatever. Like I really struggled with some of it because you want to do some of the, like some people like it's always the way when people are doing these playing in World of Warcraft or in the expansion, you see all of a sudden all these new creatures they have like tamed or new mounts and stuff like that. And I'm like, some of that stuff is because their guild has already achieved the achievements to get those creatures. But I just don't have that kind of time, man. Like I wish World of Warcraft kind of found a way to make another tier basically for the rest of us who can't dedicate that kind of time. Even if it's a little bit easier to get the stuff, Like if people who are diehards want the super rare stuff, I'm okay with that. Just give me an alternative. Like, if they have this like golden dragon or whatever, maybe give me like the black dragon that isn't as rare. Anybody can get that one. You know what I'm saying? Just give me something. Uh, or again, get back to where we have more rare tames that are easier to tame, because some of the rares that we have now that we have to go through, we have to do so much obstacles just to get it. Like sometimes it pays off. There's I forget what expansion it was. I think it was Warlords of Draenor, the purple wolf that you can tame. You had to kind of do a quest, and then it allowed you to tame this creature, and it paid off. But like again, pain in the ass. Now, when it came to other expansions later on, trying to do the same thing, you had to like have a certain reputation with a particular race to even do certain things, and it's just really kind of a pain in the ass, man. Just I don't have that kind of time. But I love the game. That's sort of which is the catch 52 with that with me, because I want to be able to play the game, but I need them to be able to work with me for guys like myself who are a little bit older and don't have a lot of that extra time to do that. Yeah, so most of this, like I said, will take place in the Dragon Isles. That's usually where the starting zone is for that. I'm not sure. They're going to have their own enemies. So again, kind of like other past expansions, there's going to be this, where the Alliance and Horde have to fight against the enemies of the Dracure, and, such and such and such and such. That's about all I got to say on that. Just kind of like a little bit of history there with me on that, and then World of Warcraft. Let's go ahead and get into the trailer. I have not watched it at all yet. I know there's like sometimes people say, well, why aren't you reacting a little bit more to this? I mean, but for me, it's kind of like, again, whether it's movies or whatever, like I'm trying to like focus in what's going on. So sometimes if I don't, unless it stands out right away, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. $10,000 ago.
The world has been sundered. It cries out in pain. We must go to its aid. We entrust our ancestral home to you, the Watchers. Let the land slumber, hidden even from our own eyes. You will feel our return in the waking of the land. Then, you must light the beacon of Tearhold, lest the path home be lost to us forever.
Wakey. Soon that trailer get better and better, man. Graphics are just amazing. Thanks for your time. Oh! Yay! For the blessing. Now in the next How to
The
Train Your
world
Dragon.
is healing, but her fate is yet uncertain. Together, we shall be Azeroth's protectors once again. Here, the new age of dragons shall begin.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that's just like a teaser trailer. Like, I'm not sure if that's considered the actual official one, which we'll probably get closer to upon the release. But yeah, it definitely introduces all the dragons back, so it's kind of cool. It's not really going to show us yet exactly any kind of powers. Like, apparently, you might be able to transform as a character as a Drakir into an actual dragon or whatnot. So, and you can fly from above, attacking, and all that stuff. So, looks pretty interesting. So we'll see how that goes. Kind of hoping it's going to be better overall compared to Shadowlands. I don't really try to diss Shadowlands. There were some nice things about Shadowlands that was cool, but overall, it's like, yeah, I wasn't really that crazy about it. Anywho, thank you all for checking out the reaction video. See y'all later. Enjoy yourselves.